Welcome to the African History Network show. It is Thursday, December 2nd, 2021, and we are live. All right, calling number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Okay, so on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, as I was saying, we have an update in the tragic shooting death of Clarence Avant's wife, Jacqueline Avant. We reported this on our Wednesday show. She was shot and killed at their home on Wednesday, December 1st, early in the morning. It appears it was a home invasion. And then also we have an update in the Oxford, Michigan school shooting as well. Okay, in Oxford, Michigan, which is about 35 miles away from Detroit. So we know 4 high school students were killed in that shooting. The whole, the city of Oxford is still reeling. Probably the whole state of Michigan is reeling. And there have been a number of school threats, a number of threats made against schools. And after the school shooting, and you had 12 school districts here in the Michigan area that have canceled school also. Okay, so we'll give you updates on that as well. All right, I want to jump into this first story here, dealing with, and I'm going to send you these clips here. Hopefully Shakita will get these. I want to look at this first story here. So, ABC Channel 7 out of Los Angeles has updates on the killing of Jacqueline Avant. So I was doing research on this today. ABC Channel 7 has a article: suspect arrested in fatal shooting of Jacqueline Avant during Beverly Hills home invasion. Okay. Unfortunately, the suspect is an African-American man. He's 29 years old. He's on parole. His name is Ariel Maynor. Okay. And it's a crazy story here. It's a tragic story also. So we're getting more details on what happened. Okay. But it's a tragedy nonetheless. All right. Here, I just sent this clip to you, Shakita. Please cue this up. We're going to go to this from ABC Channel 7 News in Beverly Hills, California. So a suspect has been arrested in the connection with the Beverly Hills home invasion that resulted in the shooting death of Jacqueline Avant. And then we're going to pull this article up here from ABC Channel 7 as well. She's the wife of famed music executive Clarence Avant, police announced on Thursday, December 2nd. Now, let's see, let's blow this up here. The Beverly Hills Police Department identified the suspect as a 29-year-old African-American man named Ariel Maynor of Los Angeles. Okay. He's on parole. And I mean, this story is a crazy story because they caught him at another home, apparently committing another burglary. Now, Beverly Hills police say Ariel Maynor is a parolee with a long with a long criminal history. He was caught after apparently accidentally shooting himself in the foot with an AR-15 rifle while committing another break-in just an hour after allegedly killing Jacqueline Avant. I mean, it's a crazy story. Okay. And in the video from, I think it's from AB, I think it's the video from KTLA, because we're going to go to the story from KTLA Channel 5 in Los Angeles also. In the video, they show him on the stretcher and the EMT taking him out. Okay. He's handcuffed. He's on the stretcher. Beverly Hills officers were called to Clarence Avant's home in the 1100 block of Maytor Place around 2:30 a.m. Wednesday morning, December 1st, after a reported shooting. Officers found the 81-year-old Jacqueline Avant, his wife, with a gunshot wound. Jacqueline Avant was taken to the hospital, but was later pronounced dead. She was taken to the hospital, but was later pronounced dead. About 1 hour later, officers with the Los Angeles Police Department's Hollywood Division responded to another shooting call in the 6,000 block of Graciosa Drive. Okay, so about an hour later, officers with the Los Angeles Police Department's Hollywood Division respond to another shooting call in the 6,000 block of Graciosa Drive, where they found a man suffering from a gunshot wound to his foot. Investigators later determined that Ariel Maynor, 29 years old, was involved in a burglary at that home, the home in the 6,000 block of Graciosa Drive, and had accidentally shot himself in the foot with an AR-15 rifle. Further investigation tied him to Jacqueline Avant's death, according to a press release. The caliber of the weapon matched the bullets found at the Jacqueline Avant murder scene. Okay, now I want to go to the reporting here from ABC Channel 7. Now, this is from Wednesday, December 1st, before a suspect was arrested. Let's go to this clip, Shakita.
An arrest has been made in the murder of Jacqueline Avant, a well-known philanthropist and wife of famed music producer Clarence Avant. The suspect is 29-year-old Ariel Maynor of Los Angeles. Eyewitness News reporter Rob Hayes is live in Beverly Hills with the details, including a statement from the victim's family. Rob?
Yeah, the man arrested said to have a lengthy criminal history. He was also out on parole. Police say he was caught at another break-in that night, armed with an assault rifle. One handed him under arrest and in the hospital.
Beverly Hills police say they've busted the man who gunned down well-known philanthropist Jacqueline Avant in her home early Wednesday morning. 29-year-old Ariel Maynor of Los Angeles, they say, was armed with an AR-15 assault rifle when he broke into Avant's home on Maytor Place.
Multiple surveillance videos, including city cameras, showed the suspect's vehicle heading eastbound out of Beverly Hills shortly after Mrs. Avant was shot early Wednesday morning.
But Maynor, they say, wasn't through after the Avant killing. LAPD investigators say an hour later, 3:30 in the morning, he broke into this house in the Hollywood Hills. And that's where things went south for the suspect. When police arrived, they found he had accidentally shot himself.
The subject had been apparently shot in the foot. They collected evidence of a burglary and also evidence of a shooting, including the rifle.
Police say that rifle is the same caliber as the weapon used in the Avant attack. Maynor has an extensive criminal history, they say, and was out on parole.
The evidence thus far shows that only one suspect was involved in the crime, and the motive remains under investigation.
The 81-year-old Avant is the wife of famed music producer Clarence Avant, known as the Black Godfather for his accomplishments in the music industry.
Agent
manager, orchestrator, this mysterious figure everybody respected.
He was the subject of this 2019 Netflix documentary. Police say Clarence and a security guard were also home at the time of the shooting. Neither were hurt. After the arrest was announced, the Avant and Sarandos families issued this joint statement. Our deepest gratitude to the city of Beverly Hills, the Beverly Hills Police Department, and all law enforcement for their diligence on this matter. Now, let justice be served.
Beverly Hills PD now checking to see if Maynor is involved in any other residential break-ins in the area.
Okay, so that is from ABC Channel 7. That's the new updated video. We're going to continue this on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. Today, we'll also talk about November 17th, 1961. The Albany movement started in Albany, Georgia, to end segregation in Albany, Georgia. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Joined the Albany movement December 15th, 1961. We'll talk about that later in the show as well. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Kwanzaa is coming, and the TheAHNShow.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs. Order your Kwanzaa set today, which includes a kinara, candles, a mat, a cup, the African American flag, and a basket. Visit TheAHNShow.com, TheAHNShow.com. They have kinara sets, which include a candle holder, candles, a mat, and a cup. Kwanzaa is December 26th through January the 1st. Add the early bird discount code for 10% off your order placed before November 28th. Visit TheAHNShow.com and place your order today. TheAHNShow.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs to celebrate this African American Pan-African holiday. TheAHNShow.com.
Mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Thursday, December 2nd, 2021, and we are live. Be sure to visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for the online courses I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. And we have a special bundle pack right now where you can register for both classes, regularly $130 a piece. You can register for both classes for only $70. Okay, that's a $260 value for only $70. From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. This is a 10-week online course that I teach. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch them anytime. We teach that on Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then also on Sundays, it is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. This is a 10-week online course as well. We do this Sundays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time also. Okay. So visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for the class there. Okay. As soon as you register, you can start watching the content. You can watch the class we did last week, and you'll be registered. You'll be ready for classes this weekend. Okay. We'll post a link here also, but it's at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right. We're going to clip to Shakita from KTLA, Channel 5 in Los Angeles here in just a second. So I want to go back to this article here from, this is from ABC Channel 7. Out of Los Angeles. Suspect arrested in fatal shooting of Jacqueline Avant during Beverly Hills home invasion. Okay, this is a crazy, crazy story. And they're still investigating, trying to find a motive, what's really behind this. But a suspect has been arrested, as we reported right before the break. 29-year-old African-American male. His name is Ariel Maynor, Maynor. He is out on parole. He has a long criminal record. He was caught after apparently accidentally shooting himself in the foot with an AR-15 rifle while committing another break-in just an hour after allegedly killing Jacqueline Avant. Okay, so they caught him in the 6,000 block of Graciosa Drive in Hollywood Hills, allegedly committing another break-in. Now, Beverly Hills Police Chief Mark G. Stainbrook said there were multiple surveillance videos that showed Ariel Maynor's vehicle heading eastbound out of Beverly Hills shortly after the shooting. Police believe Ariel Maynor acted alone, and a motive remains unclear. Police believe Ariel Maynor acted alone, and a motive remains unclear. Is that, I was researching this today, and I was looking at different stories and looking at coverage from the Black News Channel and things like this, and this is just a crazy, crazy story. So after the arrest was announced, the Avant and Sarandos families released Ted Sarandos is a co-CEO of Netflix, and he is the son-in-law to Jackie Avant. Okay. After the arrest was announced, the Avant and Sarandos families released a statement thanking police. Clarence Avant and Jackie Avant's daughter, Nicole, is married to Ted Sarandos. Okay. Ted Sarandos is the co-CEO of Netflix. Quote, our deepest gratitude to the city of Beverly Hills, the BHPD, Beverly Hills Police Department, and all law enforcement for their diligence on this matter, end quote. The statement read, now let justice be served. Now let justice be served. Now, Jacqueline Avant, known affectionately as Jackie, was well-known and well-respected for her philanthropy over the years. Her husband, Clarence Avant, as we talked about on yesterday's show, was recently inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He was also the subject of the 2019 Netflix documentary, The Black Godfather, which is how I found out about him, basically from the documentary, and also an interview that Reverend Al Sharpton did back in June 2019 on Politics Nation with the director of the documentary, Reginald Hutland, and we shared that interview on yesterday's show. The 2019 Netflix documentary, The Black Godfather, which highlighted Clarence Avant's influence in the music industry. Beverly Hills Police Department Police Chief Stainbrook confirmed there was a private security guard on the property at the time, but it was not clear how that individual may have interacted with the suspect. I want to go to clip number 2 here. This is from KTLA Channel 5 in Los Angeles. Let's go to clip 2, Shakita. I just sent another email to you. All right. Just press play when it's ready. On Wednesday, Police Chief Stainbrook read a statement from the Avant family. The entire, let me pull up this statement here. Just 1 second here.
AR-15.
Go ahead.
Carrying out the home invasion shooting that ended in the death of philanthropist Jackie Avant.
Police say Ariel Maynor has an extensive criminal history and was arrested after shooting himself in the foot during another robbery. KTLA's Jennifer McGraw is live in Beverly Hills with more on this arrest. Jen.
Just an incredibly heartbreaking story. And tonight, investigators are trying to figure out if this suspect acted alone. But we're also getting new images of that night and who they arrested. for an accused Beverly Hills killer quickly ending in the backyard of a Hollywood home. An LAPD watch commander tying the two together, the murder and this medical call, leading back to the same man.
It appears as though, yes, he was in the house and collecting property, and then after that, somehow discharged a weapon and apparently shot himself in the foot.
Arrested, a career criminal, 29-year-old Ariel Maynor for the death of beloved Jacqueline Avant, philanthropist and wife of legendary music producer Clarence Avant, who was at home during the robbery. Family and friends, the entire community mourning her loss.
Jackie Avant. She was the pillar for that family. This cowardly act cannot be unpunished.
The Beverly Hills Police Chief says through its citywide surveillance system, private cameras, criminals won't get away.
Let me reassure you, this is one of the most protected and patrolled cities in the world. Crimes of any kind will not be tolerated here.
Now the investigation switching to a motive. Why would anyone harm Jackie? Or was this truly just another robbery?
Too early in the investigation to get to the motive. It may have been or may have been targeted, and for what purpose, we don't know. We're still looking at that.
So, Jennifer, with the number of escalating home invasions and follow-home robberies, how are police recommending people protect themselves?
You know, in this case, it seems like they did everything right. They were home, they had a guard, and sadly, these violent crimes are going to continue to happen. But Chief Moore speaking today in LA County and LA City and saying, keep your head out of your phone, be aware. And if this does happen to you or smash and grab happens to someone around, to call 911 saying not to fight for your property, that's not worth risking your life. That's very latest from Beverly Hills. Jennifer McGraw, KTLA 5 News. All right.
Okay. All right. That's from KTLA Channel 5 News. Check out the article here from KTLA.com. Suspect arrested in killing of Jacqueline Avant in Beverly Hills. This is from Thursday, December 2nd, 2021. And they have the video there. You see an image here of the suspect on a stretcher, handcuffed after he allegedly shot himself in the foot. Okay. So, yeah, there are dumbass criminals out there too. Okay, I'm just saying. So it's a crazy story. So read this article as well. Read the one from ABC Channel 7. I want to go back to this statement here from the family. And this is in the article from ABC Channel 7. On Wednesday, Chief Stainbrook read a statement from the Avant family. Quote, the entire Avant family wishes to thank everyone for their outpouring of love, support, and condolences for Jacqueline Avant. Jacqueline was an amazing woman, wife, mother, philanthropist, and a 55-year resident of Beverly Hills who has made an immeasurable positive contribution and impact on the arts community. She will be missed by her family and friends and all of the people she has held throughout, and all of the people she has held throughout her amazing life. Okay, so that is a statement from the family as well. So as we get more updates on this case, we'll give you, we'll keep you updated on what's going on. Also, the neighbors of the Avants have come out with a outpouring of affection as well. Let's see, we have this here. You know what? Rebecca Coyne, who is a neighbor of the Avants, said it's been devastating. Every night there's something else. Somebody needs to step up. This is just horrible. It's breaking our hearts. They're a great family. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
Soul in Motion, celebrating 38 years in the arts. This energetic ensemble of dancers and drummers was started by percussionist Michael Friend and is led by choreographer Associate Director Pam Lassiter. Based in the Washington, D.C. area, Soul in Motion is now accepting bookings for Black History Month, Juneteenth, and summer festivals in 2022. Soul in Motion is also available for more intimate events like naming ceremonies and weddings. To find out more or to book your date, call 240-452-1349 or send an email to info@soulinmotion.org. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Soul in Motion, celebrating our history, our culture, our future. Soul in Motion. Theater, African dance, and drumming since 1984.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Thursday, December 2nd, 2021, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Okay, we're going to we just gave an update on dealing with the killing of Clarence Avant's wife, Jacqueline Avant, which took place on Wednesday, December 1st, early in the morning, Wednesday, December 1st. If you're just tuning in, the suspect has been arrested. I want to go to the next story and give an update here in the school shooting here in Michigan, in Oxford, Michigan. Okay. So we have new details have been released in the school shooting. Now we know that 4 teenagers have died from the shooting, for teenagers at the school, Oxford High School in Oxford, Michigan, which is about 35 miles away from Detroit. The fourth teenager passed away on Wednesday. New details released about Oxford High School. We're going to clip 3, Shakita. New detail. Let me see. Hold on. Is that clip 3 or clip 4? Sheriff Bouchard. Let me see. Hold on. We're going to clip 3 here in just a second from WXYZ Channel 7. New details released about Oxford High School shooting suspect Ethan Crumbley. This is from WXYZ Channel 7 here in Detroit. WXYZ has been doing some really, really good coverage. Ethan Crumbley, 15 years old, faced a judge Wednesday, just one day after he's accused of gunning down his classmates at Oxford High School. So we know he was arraigned on Wednesday, and his mugshot circulated around in the media. As detectives search for clues about what led up to the shooting, the Oakland County Sheriff, Michael Bouchard, confirms with Channel 7 News investigators that they have been learning from several sources that Oxford High School officials met with the teen, Crumbley, and his parents about concerning behavior just hours before the shooting. There was a meeting early Tuesday morning with school officials and Ethan Crumbley's parents just hours before the shooting took place. Let's go to clip number 3, Shakita.
There have been serious questions about what happened in the hours leading up to the Oxford High School shooting. Many of those questions remained unanswered until now. Only 7 Action News has confirmed there were 2 meetings between school officials and the 15-year-old sophomore charged, Ethan Crumbley. One meeting was on Monday, the second on Tuesday morning, and that one involved Crumbley's parents. That was just hours before 10 students and a teacher were shot, 4 students killed. 7 Action News reporter Jim Kirchner talked exclusively with the Oakland County Sheriff about the investigation and has more on these critical moments. Jim?
Carolyn, so many people inside Oxford High School saying they can't sleep. They want answers. They're not getting them. They are relying on us, and the sheriff agreed to talk with us. He says school officials are cooperating fully now. He says he knows who were inside those 2 critical meetings. He knows what was discussed. His liaison officer inside that high school was not included. Were there warning signs that were made aware to school officials that perhaps someone missed?
Obviously, this is all part of the investigation and is part of our evidence and our process now because we've transferred over into the prosecution side. So I can't get into specific evidentiary issues because we certainly don't want to jeopardize prosecution. In hindsight, where we all have 20/20 vision, do I wish we would have been drawn into this information prior? Absolutely.
The sheriff has revealed school surveillance video shows Ethan Crumbley walked into a bathroom with a backpack, came out without it, and opened fire with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. After that meeting that morning, he was returned to class. Is that your understanding?
Correct.
And anybody search a bag, which theoretically he could have been carrying the gun at that time, correct?
To my knowledge, no.
But he could have had the gun with him this whole time.
Could have.
Yesterday, we saw Crumbley's parents, Jennifer and James, on the Zoom during their son's arraignment in court. They told their son not to cooperate after he was arrested, and he hasn't. And they have not cooperated. They were in that meeting at the school with their son Tuesday morning. Were the parents given any instructions on how to proceed after that meeting?
I can't get into what was said or done in that meeting for evidentiary reasons, but there was discussions.
The sheriff has been consistently saying his team had no warning signs prior to the shooting, including from school officials. You've told the community, if you see something, say something. Did school officials do that?
Well, again, in hindsight, now that we know all that we know, certainly we wish we would have been brought into that meeting or informed of that meeting.
Now, the sheriff says he has told school officials they are free to discuss this while he can't, and the people inside the school say they have a lot more questions, including the critical one: who made the decision to allow Ethan Crumbley to return back to class just a couple of hours before this terrible tragedy? We're going to stay on this, of course. Reporting live in Pontiac, Jim Kurtz, 7 Action News.
So much more to learn. Thank you, as always, Jim.
Okay, so good reporting from Jim Kirchner, WXYZ Channel 7. We're going to clip 4 in just a second. Here, Shakita, we're on to clip number 4 from WXYZ. Okay, so new detail. Now, this piece here is from Wednesday, December 1st. New details released about Oxford High School shooting suspect Ethan Crumbley. And as we said before, he's 15 years old. Now, the gun, the 9mm handgun that he used, appears it was purchased by his father on November 26. It appears to have been purchased legally. Now, investigators in the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, they're trying to find out how Ethan Crumbley actually got his hands on the gun. Okay, so at this point, we don't know whether it was secured properly or what have you. Okay, we don't know. So they're investigating. Now, Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard said, quote, we had no information from the schools, but we have since learned that the schools did have contact with the student the day before and the day of the shooting. Okay, the day before and the day of the shooting. So there was a meeting with administrators on Monday, November 29th, and a meeting with parents and administrators on Tuesday, November 30th, the day of the shooting. We had no information from the schools, but we have since learned that the schools did have contact with the student the day before and the day of the shooting for behavior in the classroom that they felt was concerning. Now, at this point in time, they're not revealing what that behavior was, and there's certain details they're not going to reveal because there's prosecution coming. Okay, so they don't want to jeopardize the case. In fact, the parents were brought in the morning of the shooting, Tuesday, November 30th, and had a face-to-face meeting with the school, end quote, said Sheriff Michael Bouchard. Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard would not reveal the topics discussed during the meeting, only that his liaison officer in the school was not told about it. Bouchard also confirmed the school allowed Ethan Crumbley to stay in the building, after that 10 a.m. meeting Tuesday morning, November 30th, which ended up being the day of the shooting, and around 12:50 p.m. the shooting started. Okay. Sheriff Michael Bouchard said the content of that meeting obviously is part of the investigation. All right, now, the sheriff previously acknowledged that a handgun shown on a social media account that's believed to belong to the suspect, Ethan Crumbley, is the same type of weapon used in the murders. But law enforcement officials are also telling Channel 7 investigators, WXYZ Channel 7 investigators, that the 15-year-old has no prior school discipline issues and no prior criminal record. While a motive is not yet clear, sheriff investigators are poring over documents, notebooks, and searching the suspect's phone for clues. All right. Okay. Read the rest of this here. This is from WXYZ.com, Channel 7 here in Detroit. New details released about Oxford High School shooting suspect Ethan Crumbley. Okay, we're coming up here on the break. When we come back from the break, we're going to go to clip 4 because there have been copycat threats made against schools. Copycat threats made against schools, and the Oakland County Sheriff's Office is cracking down on this right now and saying that people who are making threats against schools, because there have been 12 school districts here in the Michigan area that have had to cancel school because of threats after this shooting. Okay. Law enforcement addresses copycat school threats and the consequences. We'll deal with this on the other side of the break, and we'll talk about the Albany movement in Albany, Georgia, to end segregation that started November 17th, 1961. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Soul in Motion, celebrating 38 years in the arts. This energetic ensemble of dancers and drummers was started by percussionist Michael Friend and is led by choreographer Associate Director Pam Lassiter. Based in the Washington, D.C. area, Soul in Motion is now accepting bookings for Black History Month, Juneteenth, and summer festivals in 2022. Soul in Motion is also available for more intimate events like naming ceremonies and weddings. To find out more or to book your date, call 240-452-1349 or send an email to info@soulinmotion.org. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Soul in Motion, celebrating our history, our culture, our future. Soul in Motion. Theater, African dance, and drumming since 1984.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation Future Radio. Be sure to visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for the online courses I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. On Sundays is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa. Understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles, video clips. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch them anytime. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have a bundle pack right now where you can register for this course, as well as From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. The classes are regularly $130 each. We have a special bundle pack going on until Sunday, December 5th. You can register for both of them for only $70. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. As soon as you register, you can start watching the content. You can join us in class this weekend. Okay, so back to the updates in the tragic Oxford, Michigan, Oxford High School shooting. So there's a problem with copycat threats. Copycat threats are pouring in. We see the live updates here from WXYZ Channel 7. Also, Fox 2 here in Detroit has good coverage as well. I watch Channel 7 all the time, so that's for years. So that's where I get a lot of the local news from, but also Channel 4, Click on Detroit, has some good coverage as well. Law enforcement address copycat school threats and the consequences. Law enforcement addresses copycat school threats and the consequences. And then also there's another piece from Channel 7 from today dealing with the copycat threats. I posted one from Fox 2 News on our on my page as well, like shortly before coming on the air. And we have an article on our fan page, The African History Network, also dealing with these threats. And you've had 12 school districts that have had to cancel school because of these threats. Every single hour, we're getting another call. Copycat threats pour into Michigan schools. Every single hour, we're getting another call. Copycat threats pour into Michigan schools. Dozens of schools close following flood of threats. Okay, now this is from December 2nd, 2021, Thursday. In the hours after Tuesday's unspeakable shooting spree in Oxford, Michigan, threats began to pour in, targeting other schools all over Michigan. Okay, today, Thursday, more than a dozen districts canceled classes because of copycat threats made through social media, encrypted apps, or on school walls. Okay, through social media, encrypted apps, or on school walls. Quote, at this point, I'm aware of over 60 schools that have been closed because of threatening behavior, said Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard. Now, Oxford, Michigan is in Oakland County. Detroit, Michigan, we're in Wayne County. Okay, so Detroit is about 35 miles away from Oxford, Michigan. Quote, it's overrunning our resources to investigate these false threats. It's overrunning our resources to investigate these false threats. Today, attorneys who've represented students behind copycat threats say prosecutors were not interested in making deals before Tuesday's massacre and expect they will be even more aggressive going forward. Let's go to clip number 4 because there was a press conference today in Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard addressed these copycat threats. Let's go to clip 4, Shakita.
We begin. 7 Action News reporter Simon Jacqueline live in Pontiac, where the sheriff just addressed those school threats. And Simon, the sheriff is vowing those behind them will be held accountable.
Glenda, Brian, that press conference just wrapped up. The sheriff talking about those copycat threats that have emerged all throughout Oakland County. More than 12 school districts canceled their classes today due to an alarming trend that's followed Tuesday's deadly mass shooting at Oxford High School that claimed 4 lives and left several others wounded. The sheriff focused on social media threats that have been surfacing, more than 100 of them, which have not been credible, and relentless work being done by their office and other law enforcement partners to find those responsible and prosecute them under a 20-year felony. The FBI is also involved, and police chiefs from throughout the area came out to show support, along with the U.S. attorney and the county prosecutor. With more than 60 schools closed and a weapon recovered at a Southfield school, the sheriff sending this important message to the community.
I don't know what is in people's minds to think after a real tragedy, it makes sense to make threats. And typically we see it fall into 2 buckets. One is they think it's funny. It is not. 2, they think it's a way to get out of school. It is not. It's a crime. Even if it's not a credible threat against the school, to make a threat because you think it's funny or you want to get out of school, it will be fully investigated by me or all of our partners, depending on where it happens. And we will hand the baton to our prosecutor, and I'm confident they will be held accountable. So if you're making threats, we're going to find you.
Law enforcement sources also confirm a major charging announcement related to the Oxford High School shooting will take place tomorrow. We will, of course, bring you the very latest developments just as soon as they happen. Glenda, back to you.
Really disappointing, Simon. Nothing funny about it at all. Sheriff's words today. Thank you for the update.
Okay. All right. Pause it right there. All right. That's Simon Jacqueline and Glenda Lewis for Channel 7 here in Detroit. Now, Fox 2 News here in Detroit also has a piece dealing with the press conference that took place today and the copycat threats. We posted this on our fan page, the African History Network also. Sheriff, prosecutor promised to prosecute every threat after Oxford High School shooting. Okay. This is from Thursday, December 2nd, 2021. This is from fox2detroit.com. All right. So check that out as well. Okay. November 17th, 1961. 71 was the year I was born. 1961. Okay. 61 was a good year also. 71 was a better year, but November 17th, 1961 in Georgia, the Albany movement began. Now, if you've seen Eyes on the Prize, and I've seen Eyes on the Prize a number of times, I have the 3 DVD box set of Eyes on the Prize, the original one from 1955 to 1965. They talk about the Albany movement. And this was a movement to break the back of segregation in Albany, Georgia. Now, the Albany movement was formed on November 17th, 1961. It was led by SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Various civil rights organizations came together to challenge, various civil rights organizations came together to challenge segregation and work for voting rights. Now, SNCC organizer Charles Sherrod, who is interviewed in Eyes on the Prize, SNCC organizer Charles Sherrod explained their strategy. He said, when we first came to Albany, Georgia, the people were afraid, really afraid. Sometimes we'd walk down the streets and the little kids would call us freedom riders, and the people walking in the same direction would go across the street from us because they were afraid. They did not want to be connected with us in any way. Many of the ministers were afraid to let us use their churches, afraid that their churches would be bombed, that their homes would be stoned. Now, those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. We're going to keep broadcasting for a few more minutes. We're going to finish this story here about the Albany movement, and we'll talk about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. getting involved in the Albany movement in December of 1961. Okay. Thanks for tuning in to the African History Network show. I'll be on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, so we'll talk about that on our Sunday show. We're on 9 p.m. on Sunday. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. All right. Stand by. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back to talk about the Albany movement, okay? You're watching African History Network. You're watching African History Network show. We'll be back in a minute.
Soul in Motion, celebrating 38 years in the arts. This energetic ensemble of dancers and drummers was started by percussionist Michael Friend and is led by choreographer Associate Director Pam Lassiter. Based in the Washington, D.C. area, Soul in Motion is now accepting bookings for Black History Month, Juneteenth, and summer festivals in 2022. Soul in Motion is also available for more intimate events like naming ceremonies and weddings. To find out more or to book your date, call 240-452-1349 or send an email to info@soulinmotion.org. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Soul in Motion, celebrating our history, our culture, our future. Soul in Motion. Theater, African dance, and drumming since 1984.
African History Network show. Okay, I want to go back to this story here dealing with the Albany movement. And let me pull this back up here just a second. So if you've seen Eyes on the Prize, you saw them talk about the Albany movement and how it was not a success, but they learned from the mistakes of the Albany movement. And when the Birmingham campaign starts in 1963 and Dr. King gets involved in the Birmingham campaign is a success because they learned from the mistakes of the Albany movement. All right, now this picture right here, this is, pull this back up. Thomas Chapman, Marion King, an unidentified voter, Jonathan King, and Slater King participate in voting registration in Albany, Georgia. Okay. You see the clerk or the registrar as a white woman. Okay, so Charles Sherrod was talking about how when SNCC first got down to Albany, Georgia, a lot of people were afraid and didn't want to have anything to do with them. Okay. He said when we first came to Albany, the people were afraid, really afraid. Sometimes we'd walk down the streets and the little kids would call us freedom riders. And the people walking in the same direction would go across the street from us because they were afraid. They didn't want to be connected with us in any way. Many of the ministers were afraid to let us use their churches, afraid that their churches would be bombed, that their houses would be stoned. There was fear in the air, and if we were to make progress, we knew that we must cut through that fear. There was fear in the air, and we knew if we were to make progress, we must cut through that fear. We thought, and the students were the answer. Now, many leaders of the national civil rights movement and the media considered the Albany movement a failure because it did not achieve many concessions from the local government. However, Howard Zinn stated that it was more important to look at the grassroots level impact. It has often been said by journalists, by scholars, that the Albany movement was a defeat for the movement, but there was no immediate victory over racial segregation because there was no immediate victory over racial segregation in the city. That also seemed to me a superficial assessment, a mistake often made in evaluating protest movements. Social movements may have many defeats, failing to achieve objectives in the short run, but in the course of the struggle, the strength of the old order begins to erode, which is true because one event or one campaign may not achieve its goals, but then the next one learns from the mistakes of the first one, corrects it, and you have more success. It's the same thing with the Montgomery bus boycott. The template of the Montgomery bus boycott, which started December 5th, 1955. So we're in that, this is that week that it started. In 1955, on yesterday's show, we talked some about the Montgomery bus boycott and Rosa Parks. And on November 27th, Rosa Parks attended a meeting about Emmett Till, about the lynching of Emmett Till. And she was thinking about Emmett Till December 1st, 1955, when she refused to give up her seat on that Cleveland Avenue bus. We talked about that on yesterday's show, on Wednesday's show. So the template for the Montgomery bus boycott was the Baton Rouge, Louisiana bus boycott of 1953, led by the Reverend T.J. Jemison. And that bus boycott lasted 8 days. It didn't achieve the goal, the real goal. It didn't end segregation on the buses, but they cost the bus company $1,600 a day. And it was something big for African Americans to do in that city. And Dr. King and E.D. Nixon and organizers of the Montgomery bus boycott called Reverend T.J. Jemison to get guidance and to get pointers on how to proceed with the Montgomery bus boycott so it will be a success. All right. And the ideal of the car dispatch system, because they create a dispatch system of 300 cars to take people to work and take them to go grocery shopping and take them to church, things like this. They get that idea from Reverend T.J. Jemison. All right. Social movements may have many defeats, failing to achieve objectives in the short run, but in the course of the struggle, the strength of the old order begins to erode. The minds of the people begin to change. The protesters are momentarily defeated, but not crushed. The protesters are momentarily defeated, but not crushed, and have been lifted, heartened by their ability to fight back. They have been lifted and heartened by their ability to fight back. Now, Albany, Georgia was changed forever by the tumultuous events of 1961 and 1962. However, things looked the same when the situation quieted down. Okay. So read about the Albany movement here from the Zen Education Project. November 17th, 1961, Albany movement. Okay. Now, I want to go to this next piece here. Now, this is from blackpast.org on the Albany movement. And this gives some more information on it. So the Albany movement was a desegregation campaign formed on November 17th, 1961 in Albany, Georgia. Let me pull this up here. The Albany movement of 1961 to 62. The Albany movement was a desegregation campaign formed in Albany, Georgia, November 17th, 1961 1961. Local activists from SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the NAACP, the Ministerial Alliance, the Federation of Women's Clubs, the Federation of Women's Clubs, and the Negro Voters League joined together to create the Albany movement. The Albany movement challenged all forms of racial segregation and discrimination in the city of Albany, Georgia. Martin Luther King Jr. and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, joined the movement in December 1961. Now, SNCC members Charles Schwab and Cordell Regan traveled to Albany, Georgia in October 1961 to help organize the local African American community. Although earlier protests had occurred, African American residents were frustrated with the city commission's failure to address their grievances. SNCC's Charles Sherrod and Cordell Regan organized workshops around nonviolent tactics for Albany's African American residents in anticipation of a showdown with the local police. On November 1st, 1961, when the Interstate Commerce Commission, the ICC, the Interstate Commerce Commission, ban on racial segregation in interstate bus terminals went into effect, Charles Sherrod and Cordell Regan saw it as an opportunity to test segregation policies. Okay, so the ban on racial segregation in interstate bus terminals goes into effect, and this is something that the Freedom Riders were doing, traveling from state to state, testing to make sure that this ban was being upheld. So they sent 9 students from Albany State College to conduct a sit-in at the bus terminal. None of the students were arrested, but their actions inspired local African American leaders to join the movement. None of the students were arrested, but their actions inspired local African American leaders to join the movement. The Albany movement intended to end all forms of racial segregation in the city of Albany, Georgia, but it initially focused on desegregating travel facilities. It also formed a biracial committee to discuss further desegregation and called for the release of those jailed in earlier segregation protests. Movement protests used mass demonstrations, jail-ins, sit-ins, boycotts, and litigation. Economic boycotts, which is something that's lacking today in this whole movement dealing with voting rights or whatever it is. Economic boycott, somehow it's just people just act like we don't have a history of economic withdrawal strategies. They just forget about that. I'm still trying to figure out why. Although the first protesters were mostly students, the campaign eventually evolved large numbers of African American adults of varied class backgrounds. Now, Larry Pritchard, who was the Albany, Georgia police chief, responded to the protest demonstrations with mass arrests of protesters. And what he did, he's interviewed in Eyes on the Prize also, Larry Pritchard. And he talks about how he looked at the surrounding cities of Albany, Georgia, and he used the jails around the surrounding cities to be able to how to be able to put those the civil rights protesters who were arrested, to put them in surrounding jails, to expand the capacity to be able to arrest them. Okay, to expand the capacity to be able to arrest them, because one of the tactics of the civil rights movement, the direct confrontation, but with the arrest, was to overwhelm the jails. Okay, so what he did was he expanded the capacity of the jails. All right, which helped to blunt or nullify the attack. Okay, and he talks. He actually, in Eyes on the Prize, he talks about how he outsmarted the protesters. Let's see if I can pull something up here. All right. But he's in Eyes on the Prize also. What are we doing here? Okay. Okay, let's continue. One second here. All right. So by 1961, when more than 500 protesters were jailed, William G. Anderson, the first president of the Albany movement, called on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to help reinvigorate the stalled campaign. Okay, William G. Anderson, the first president of the Albany movement, called on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to reinvigorate the campaign. Let me close some of this out here. All right. Just 1 second here. I need to close some of these tabs out. Okay. So some SNCC members were concerned about Dr. King's involvement, worrying publicly that his style of leadership would cause local African Americans to abandon their own efforts against racism and exploitation, thinking that only a prominent outside leader could save them. So in the movement, there was tension oftentimes between local grassroots organizations that were involved in organizing before Dr. King would come in to the city. And you would have local people, sometimes local organizers, who wanted Dr. King to come to bring attention, to bring the media, things like that. But there was oftentimes tension because when Dr. King would leave, a lot of times the media coverage would die down, or enthusiasm would die down, and you have this tension between local grassroots organizations and Dr. King and SCLC for different reasons. You would have these tensions that took place. So some SNCC members were concerned about King's involvement, worrying publicly that his style of leadership would cause local blacks to abandon their own efforts against racism and exploitation, thinking that only a prominent outside leader could save them. So you also had this difference in the movement where Dr. King was looked at as the charismatic leader, where other people focused on a grassroots movement that was not necessarily led by one person. Okay. And this was like the difference between Ella Baker and Dr. King. This was part of the tension between Ella Baker and Dr. King. Also, Dr. King was a sexist as well. That's the other part, because Dr. King and others did not think that women should hold permanent leadership positions in the movement or in SCLC. And Ella Baker leaves SCLC, that she helped co-found in 1957. She left SCLC after she was passed up for a permanent leadership position in SCLC. Okay, so you have these different differences and tensions in the movement, even though people are working together or trying to work together. So Dr. King arrived in Albany, Georgia on December 15, 1961, and spoke at a mass meeting at Shiloh Baptist Church. Shiloh Baptist Church. The following day, Dr. King, Anderson, and Ralph Abernathy, the SCLC's second in command, joined hundreds of African-American citizens behind bars on charges of parading without a permit. They were arrested for parading without a permit and obstructing the sidewalk. Now, despite SNCC's fears, Dr. King's involvement in the movement did attract national attention, and it inspired more members of the African-American community to join the protests. Soon after Dr. King was arrested, city officials and Albany movement leaders agreed that if Dr. King left Albany, Georgia, the city would comply the ICC ruling and release jailed protesters on bail. Okay, the Interstate Commerce Commission. Soon after Dr. King was arrested, city officials and Albany movement leaders agreed that if Dr. King left Albany, Georgia, the city would comply with the Interstate Commerce Commission ruling banning segregation on interstate transportation. And the city would release jailed protesters on bail. After Dr. King left Albany, the city of Albany, Georgia, failed to uphold its agreement, and protests continued into 1962. On July 10th, 1962, Dr. King and Ralph Abernathy were found guilty of having paraded without a permit in December 1961, and they were ordered to pay $178 or serve 45 days in jail. Dr. King and Ralph Abernathy chose to stay in jail, hoping that their imprisonment would draw attention to the Albany movement. On July 12th, 1962, Albany Police Chief Larry Pritchard notified Dr. King and Ralph Abernathy that their bail had been paid by an unidentified African-American man, and they were immediately released. On July 27th, 1962, Dr. King was arrested for a third time, but on August 10th, 1962, he agreed to leave Albany, Georgia, ending his involvement in the Albany movement. Although SNCC continued its efforts in Albany, Georgia, almost all of Albany's public facilities remained segregated after Dr. King's departure. So this is some more background information on the Albany movement in Albany, Georgia, which did not end segregation in Albany, Georgia, but it served as a lesson. So when the Birmingham campaign came in 1963, and Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth of Birmingham, Alabama, calls Dr. King and tells Dr. King, if you come to Birmingham, Alabama, and help us break the back of segregation, I can guarantee you a win. And Dr. King was looking for a win using nonviolent direct action because of the failure to end segregation in Albany, Georgia in 61-62. This is a picture of protesters on Broad Street in Albany, Georgia around 1961. So check this out at blackpast.org. Blackpast.org has thousands of articles dealing with African-American history and African history. Okay, if you like this type of information, we get really deep into the history in the online classes that I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. So on Saturday, the class is 12 noon to 2 p.m. It's from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. It's a 10-week online course. Each class you go through and analyze approximately a 10-year period of history. And we deal with some of the history leading up to the Civil War in 1861, starting with the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles, video clips, everything. Okay. So we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded, so you don't have to worry about trying to join us in class live if you cannot. We're going to post a link here. You can register for the class. As soon as you register, you can watch the class we did last week. You'll be ready for class this weekend. The class is on sale. It's regularly $130. It's on sale $50. You still have access to the full class even after the 10-week online course is over with. Now, we have a special bundle pack where you can register for both online courses I teach for only $70, regularly $260 total for both classes. And that's at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com as well. Right here, online course bundle pack. Just click right here, register here, and you can register for the online course bundle for both of them. Understand the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school, and from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power. Just click right here, buy now, and you can start watching the content. You can join us in class live. Okay, then the second class is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. This is on Sundays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to transatlantic slave trade taking place. All right. So if you like this type of information, you'll definitely learn a lot from these classes. You can use these classes with your children also. I would say the content is PG-13. We give you numerous sources. There's a ton of articles that we reference as well. We have video clips, everything. Okay. And it's very engaging. But you can use this with your children also. All right. We have to get out of here. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Also, you can also support us through Cash App and PayPal, $TheAHNShow through Cash App. And also through PayPal, paypal.me/TheAHNShow. And this is our official Cash App account here once again. When you go to it, it says Michael and shows my picture there. Our Cash App tag is $TheAHNShow, SHOW. These other ones are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. Okay, remember, right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
Mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African-American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
Kwanzaa is coming, and the KwanzaaShop.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs. Order your Kwanzaa set today, which includes a kinara, candles, a mat, a cup, the African American flag, and a basket. Visit the KwanzaaShop.com, thekwanzaashop.com. They have kinara sets, which include a candle holder, candles, a mat, and a cup. Kwanzaa is December 26th through January the 1st. Add the early bird discount code for 10% off your order placed before November 28th. Visit the KwanzaaShop.com and place your order today. The KwanzaaShop.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs to celebrate this African American Pan-African holiday. The KwanzaaShop.com.
Hi, I'm Joel Wilson, President and CEO of JCW Computer Consulting LLC, a technology implementation firm with over 20 years of satisfying customers. We offer a full spectrum of industry top-tier branded services. We are an authorized partner or reseller for Lenovo, Zoom, T-Mobile, Microsoft 365 and Surface tablets, Google Workspace, Acer, Asus, Samsung, PCmatic security software, and many more. Our online store features laptops, Chromebooks, computers, printers, accessories, and software. Businesses, take advantage of our free 1-hour Zoom tech consultation and know we offer top nationwide high-speed internet service providers, voice over IP, and cellular phone services. Home users, don't miss our current in-stock Chromebook inventory. Please visit us at jcwcc.com or call 215-879-6701.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go.